Welcome to Everyday Wakili. My name is Phoebe.
My name is Doreen.
My name is Agnes. This is our third episode, and today we shall be discussing foreigners and Kenyan employment laws. Our discussion was prompted by 1. The spike in the establishment of foreign commercial entities in Kenya, the fact that local employees are unaware of their rights and obligations as provided in the Constitution, the Employment Act, the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act, amongst other legal provisions. 3. There have been concerns as regards foreign employees, and we shall break down these issues into 4 parts. First of all, how foreigners are able to work in Kenya, which we shall be taken through by Doreen. The relationship between foreign employers and local employees, which I shall take us through. Then Phoebe shall take us through 3, foreign employees in managerial positions and common grievances. We shall begin with Doreen. So Doreen, please take us through.
Thank you, Agnes. Foreigners seeking employment in Kenya are governed by various immigration laws within our jurisdiction, and some of the laws that govern foreigners who are seeking employment in Kenya include the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act, the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Regulations, the Kenya Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Service Act, the Employment Act, and the Refugee Act, among other legislation. So we're going to focus on the 3 main legislation, which are the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act, the Kenya Citizen and Foreign Nationals Management Service Act, and the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Regulations of 2012. So the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act of 2011 was enacted to provide for matters relating to citizenship, travel documentation, and immigration. As regards employment of foreign workers, Section 34 provides that the presence of any person in Kenya who is not a citizen or an asylum seeker is in the country illegally and must have a valid permit or pass. Section 45 of the same provides that no person shall employ a foreign national who has entered Kenya illegally or whose status does not authorize them to engage in employment, or a foreign national who is working in Kenya with different terms that brought him to the country. The same section states that it shall be the duty of every employer to apply for and obtain a work permit or a pass conferring upon a foreign national the right to engage in employment before granting them employment, and it shall be presumed that the employer knew at the time of that employment that such a person was not among those people who are not allowed within Kenya. So the duties of an employer when employing a foreign national are captured in the same act, and they include that the employer, after termination of employment of such foreigner, they have to keep records of that employee for 2 years, and they also have to file a report with the Kenya Citizens and Foreign National Management Service as prescribed in a prescribed form of all nationals, both local and foreigners, who are under his employment, and any breach of this is considered an offense. So the process of application and issuance of permits for foreigners who are seeking employment in Kenya. This is governed by Section 40 of the Citizenship and Immigration Act, plus the regulations, and also the Kenya Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Service Act of 2011. These 3 laws have to be read together for one to understand how the application and the issuance process is done. So the application for a permit is made to the Director of Immigration in a prescribed form. It's Form 25, which is found in Schedule 1 of the regulations, and it has to include the class under which this foreign national is seeking employment. We shall get to the classes after I'm done with the process. Once the application has been made, the application is reviewed by the Permits Determination Committee. This committee is established under the Kenya Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Service Act by the board, which forms committees on how various applications concerning citizenship, permits and passes are made in Kenya. So once the application is reviewed by this committee, the committee makes its recommendations and they have the leeway to determine whether they require more information concerning this foreign national in order to determine whether to tell the director to issue the permit or reject it. And if they give the go-ahead of issuing the permit to this foreign national, the director has to issue the permit within 14 days of such recommendation. And the director uses a prescribed form, which is Form 26. So classes of permits. The classes of permits are found in Schedule 7 of the regulations of the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act. And there are 9 classes. We are going to focus on Class D, which is our main area of concern as it deals with special skills. And most of the permits that are usually considered highly are regarding special skills that one may not have within Kenya, and one has to seek for a foreign national to come and fill the gap. It is important to note that for one to be granted a permit under this class, they have to establish, the employer has to establish that they have made all reasonable steps in trying to employ a local national, and they have found that no one was suitable and that they are in need of a special person who is a foreigner to come and fill the gap. And even when the foreigner comes to fill the gap, it is to be noted that it is taken to be a phase, and this foreigner the employer has to have a means in which this foreigner will be phased out as they teach the locals in gaining these skills within the employment of the employer. So I'll give an overview of the different classes. So we have Class A, and Class A basically involves those foreigners who are in the prospect of mining. Class B applies to those people who are in the agricultural or animal husbandry business. Class C is for any prescribed profession who wants to practice in Kenya under the specific profession, like doctors, advocates, surveyors, architects, actuaries, and many others. Class D now it relates to persons who are offered specific employment by a specific employer who have skills or qualifications that are not available in Kenya. And this permit tends to be more difficult to obtain due to the need to show that the local expertise is not available, as I had earlier stated. The Class F applies to persons who intend to engage in a specific manufacture in Kenya, and they have obtained a license and the required registration or permission. Class G applies to those who are in a specific trade or business or profession in Kenya other than the ones which are prescribed in Class C. Basically, the ones in Class C usually have, what do you call them? They have bodies which regulate them, like the LSK, the ICPAC.
Professional bodies.
They have professional bodies. Class I are for those persons who are members of institutions registered under the Societies Act, and those who are engaged as missionaries and members of companies limited by guarantees, and also those guided by the Trustees Act. Class K is designed for ordinary citizens who are over 35 years and have funds or an assured annual income of a certain amount. I think it's about US dollars 24,000, and they undertake not to accept any employment or engage in any income generating activity of any kind without a permit of other relevant class that they may wish to engage in. Class M involves those people who have been granted refugee status in Kenya, and the only supporting document that is required is a recommendation letter from the Department of Refugee Affairs. In addition to this, as the employer is applying for a work permit for a foreign national, it is to be noted that for any employer who's applying for a work permit for a foreign national has to apply for a special pass for that foreign national as they sought the work permit. And this is called a special pass. Section 26 of the regulations provide for different types of passes. It could be dependent, student, intern, visitor, transit, a prohibited immigrant, and a special pass. So Section 34 of the regulations provide that a special pass may be provided, and it's usually for a limited period of time. It lasts for 6 months, and it may be renewed upon payment of the required fee. And the special pass is for people who are in the country for a limited period of time. Perhaps their work permit has been rejected and they are here as it is pending review from the committee. And secondly, if they are applying now for a new work permit or a different pass, and also temporarily if they are into consulting business and they won't be here for long. So this pass is valid and the foreigner can get in and out of the country within that period using that special pass. Also, something that may be important is that an application for a work permit must be accompanied by an employment report, which gives information about locals and non-citizens employed in a certain organization. And only top positions in an organizational structure are exempt from the requirement to have this scrutiny. I don't know what they mean by top positions. I don't know if it's in the board or other. I don't know what top positions they may be referring to. Okay. But that is the only exemption. Also, what is important is that dependents of such foreign nationals who have come to work in Kenya are not automatically granted work permit or any other permit. If a foreign national has a work permit and they have dependents, these people have to show that they are dependents of this foreigner, and they also have to apply for a dependent's pass. And for children, they have to be under 21 years of age. Anyone beyond that cannot be granted a dependent's pass. And if they decide to take on employment in Kenya, the dependent's pass lapses, it ceases to be valid, and they have to apply for a work permit just like any other foreigner. And they cannot also school in Kenya based on the work permit of the foreign national. They also have to apply for a student's pass. So in addition to this, in our region, in the East Africa, there's the EAC Common Market Protocol, which came into force in 2010, and it permits that certain classes of workers who are nationals of partner states can move freely within the region in pursuit of employment opportunities. So this protocol grants holders of work permits and their families rights of residence, and the partner states under which these people go to are required to issue the holders of these permits with also resident permits. So far, only Kenya and Rwanda have waived the fee for all partner states in applying for a work permit. But Uganda are doing it on a reciprocal basis. That if it's free for us, it's free for you. But if you're charging us, we'll also charge you. I am not sure about Tanzania and Burundi. But what is
South Sudan?
I'm not sure about that. What is clear is that regardless of it, you have to have a work permit within the EAC. But if someone follows the rules within the protocol, they are guided by the national legislation of that partner state. So it won't go back to the protocol. That might be the only challenge. Now, if you're in a different country, you're there on your own with the national legislation that governs foreigners and employment.
Okay.
So that's just about it, about foreigners and how they get to work in Kenya. So on to you, Agnes.
Thank you, Doreen. I'll be taking us through the relationship between foreign employers and local employees. I noted a few entities that would be umbrellaed under the term foreign employers. There are foreign companies, diplomatic missions, non-governmental organizations, foreigners registered as sole proprietors in Kenya, and there are also foreigners that register partnerships in Kenya. Beginning with the foreign companies, they are regulated by the Companies Act. A foreign company may only carry on business in Kenya if it is registered at the company's registry. It must have a local officer, and it must have 30% of the shareholding held by a Kenyan. Diplomatic missions are regulated by the Privileges and Immunities Act. While Kenyans would mostly be bound by our Kenyan laws, as far as employment contracts are concerned, I believe they are governed by the laws of the state establishing the diplomatic or consulate mission within the country. There's then non-governmental organizations. These are regulated by the NGOs Coordination Act of 1990. Foreign sole proprietors are governed by the Immigration Act. First of all, they have to get an entry or a work permit into the country, which is under the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act. Then they register with the Kenyan Revenue Authority and apply for a business registration certificate on the registrar's portal on eCitizen. Same thing with foreign partnerships. First of all, they have to get work permits under the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act, then register with the KRA and apply for business registration certificates on the registrar's portal on eCitizen. And depending on the kind of business they'll be carrying on in Kenya, they may have to apply for registration with the National Social Security Fund, the National Hospital Insurance Fund, and a license with the county government where they'll be situated. So with the exception of the diplomatic and consulate missions and a few NGOs that are governed under the Privileges and Immunities Act of Kenya, contracts of service or employment contracts are mostly governed by Kenyan employment law. That said, notwithstanding what entity or institution you're working for, the Constitution of Kenya, the provisions of rights and obligations under the Constitution of Kenya bind every Kenyan citizen and every entity within the Republic of Kenya. That would mean fair labor practices where an employee will not be mistreated, an employee will be paid fairly, an employee will be protected insofar as what they're doing is concerned.
Agnes, does that apply to also the foreign nationals who are working within the entities?
Yes, it does. It does. The only clause or thing that would be different with foreign employees as regards diplomatic missions would be paying taxes. They'll be exempt from paying taxes to the KRA, but pay taxes to their countries of origin or countries of origin of the diplomatic missions and consulate missions.
And are they permanent residents?
It depends. It depends on the kind of permit they have to be within the Republic of Kenya, and also are they covered under the Immunities and Privileges Act. If they are, then it's different for them. Yeah, that is pretty much it, meaning any entity within the Republic of Kenya, whether foreign or local, has the capacity to be sued or sue in under the Employment and Labor Relations Code of Kenya. Yes, so that is pretty much it from as far as relationship between foreign employers and local employees is concerned. But there's also something else on foreign contracts of service. That is basically Kenyans who are engaged and have to work abroad. So first of all, as far as the Employment Act is concerned, which governs these kinds of contracts, the contract must be prescribed, must be in the prescribed form and attested by a labor officer. A labor officer is anyone appointed as the Commissioner of Labor by the President. The labor officer must be satisfied that one, the employee has consented to this contract, that there is absence of fraud in this contract, that the contract is in the prescribed form, that the terms and conditions of employment comply with the Employment Act, that the employee is medically fit, and the employee must not be bound to serve under any other contract. A labor officer may require an employer who is residing abroad to give security bond or the employer's authorized agent. It's also an offense to induce a person to proceed abroad under an informal contract. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there have been numerous cases of Kenyan women especially, being mistreated, being manhandled in the Middle East, in Arab countries. And I think it's very important for each and every one of us to understand this. If you don't have a diplomatic passport or a diplomatic visa to be in the Middle East, it can be very tricky for you as a sub-Saharan person. I've not seen a lot of nice things, and like right now, I don't know if you guys have seen the Beirut story. Yeah, after the explosion, there have been a lot of hostility towards Africans. And Kenyans who are living there are desperate to come back home, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Their work permits there are not exactly up to standards. So yeah, that is it from me.
Just for clarity,
Yes.
Agnes, just for clarity,
Mhm.
don't you think
Mhm.
that section for the Employment Act
Mhm.
applies for Kenyans who
Mhm.
are working for entities maybe who have either branches or subsidiaries in Kenya,
Mhm.
but are also having other branches or subsidiaries abroad,
Mhm.
rather than Kenyans who are seeking employment abroad
Mhm.
differently?
Mm.
Because I think that will be different in the sense that this person becomes a migrant, and if they are seeking employment in a different country,
Mm.
and our Employment Act does not cover them,
Mhm.
perhaps bilateral agreements between Kenya
Member
and
states.
yes,
Mhm.
between member states would be the best recourse for these people.
Yeah.
Because I know as at last year,
Mm.
according to I don't know if it's the PS or the director for labor relations in Kenya,
Mm.
he had given a speech and he was saying how they already have bilateral agreements between Kenya,
Mhm.
Qatar, and I think Saudi Arabia.
Mm.
And they were also in talks with Kuwait and two other countries within that same area,
Mhm.
so that they could sign other bilateral agreements to cover Kenyans who go there, because they know these people who go to they call them home care
caregivers.
caregivers,
Mhm.
but we know what that means.
Domestic workers.
When they go there, they are covered well, and we are able to follow up on the Kenyan nationals who are in those countries.
Mm.
And they are trying to have, I've forgotten the name of the law. There's a policy that has also been formulated that governs these institutions that are helping Kenyans to
The agencies.
yes,
Mm.
the agencies, and they have to register.
Mm.
They have to be known agencies, and these agencies have to follow up on these Kenyan migrants up to the point of them being employed, in the sense that they are signing the contract here in Kenya, and when they get to the country they are going to, if they are to sign another contract, that Kenyan has to be informed what that contract entails, because you get many have been going to those countries, they're given a new contract, it's in a different language, and they're forced to sign. And you know, once you sign something, you've signed your fate to it. Even if you don't, yes, you're bound to it. And most of the time, they're not given time to go and consult. So you don't know what you have signed up for. So I think maybe the Employment Act is restrictive in the sense that it only governs maybe entities that have a certain branch or subsidiary in Kenya, or agencies that have, like the UN maybe, or the way banks are branching out, rather than a Kenyan individually who has decided that they want to go and seek for
greener pastures.
Yeah, greener pastures.
Okay, understood. I think you're right, yes. The Employment Act should have been very clear as regards what exactly entails a foreign contract of service.
True. It is.
Yeah.
It is lacking to that extent.
To that extent, yes. It's too vague. So, which gives room for abuse.
Exploitation. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So Phoebe will take us through foreign employees in managerial positions and common grievances. Phoebe.
Yeah, thank you, Agnes. Before I start, I don't know whether I'm required to discuss foreign employees in managerial position, because I feel it's been covered a lot by Doreen on how foreigners can be employed in Kenya. So to be a repetition, so I'll just start with common grievances that Kenyans have faced on foreign nationals employed in Kenya, also called expatriates.
Yes.
So the common grievances, issues of work permits, it's supposed to be limited to specialized skills which are not readily available in local market. And even in the application forms for work permit, there's a clause that normally says it's the government policy that the economy of Kenya should be manned by trained and competent citizens. Permits are issued to foreign nationals with skills not available at present on the Kenyan labor market, only on the understanding that effective training programs are undertaken to produce trained citizens within a specified period.
Okay.
So it's very limiting to only bringing in skills and expertise that are not locally available.
Yeah.
So transfer of skills. So the specified period you're given for the work permit, there should be now a program if employed in a certain company that you're ensuring there's training of the locals there, so that you transfer the skills, and then done. Once done, then you go back. However, this is not usually the case, as we see that you find people getting extension, people are now even permanent residents, foreigners, doing the same job, which can be done locally.
I think that it is up to the employer to ensure that this training is happening. Because if the employer fails to train their employees, then this foreigner will always have employment in Kenya. And there will forever be no expertise from the local market.
So then how do who is supposed to, because I feel that they should be monitoring.
Yes, that should be the immigration
office.
Yes, that should be the immigration office, constantly and randomly checking in to see, are these trainings happening? If not, first of all, revoke the work permit, and two, have the AG revoke the business license. Something, there must be something. Basically, there should be a penalty, a heavy penalty for the employer. Yeah, because that's why you're seeing ridiculous things like the SGR. While it's being managed by the Chinese, casual laborers, cleaners, cooks, this and that are all done by the Chinese. I mean, come on.
Why?
Yes.
We
so
have the skills to do
exactly. So it's both the immigration and the Attorney General, and whoever is who are this? The Ministry of Interior. So the CS for Interior should also be hands-on involved to this end.
And maybe they have failed in this part because it is a provision in the regulations.
They have failed
in the regulations. It is actually a provision in the regulations that the Director of Immigration can, with or without notice, come to the employer's organization and inspect and see that what they had filed in their employment report when they were applying for that permit is actually happening. It's actually what is on the ground.
Inclusive of undertakings.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a failure
on the government's part.
So other issues we've noticed, there's also disparity in terms and conditions of service between the local employees and foreign employees. So expatriates are paid hefty. You could be even holding the same position, but an expatriate will get the house allowance and live in a certain area. A local employee, roughly the same position, is not getting the same allowances, payment, salary.
So discrimination.
So there's really a huge discrimination on that part. There is also, you find also because the immigration office or the government is not doing their job in terms of monitoring foreign employees in the country, most of them do not have proper work permits. Then I feel like in as much as we say the Act says the work permit is only for purposes of transferring the skills. So what kind of skills? Should we have parameters on what? What do we mean by skills that are not locally available in Kenya?
Exactly. That's a very good question, because if you ask me, we have rocket scientists in Kenya. UN has teaches something to do with, what do you call it? Yes, whatever that is, that deals with celestial bodies. So we would even have rocket scientists in Kenya. So what exactly is it that we don't have?
Well,
that would require
I think we don't. I think we don't have. I hate to use this word. Experience and exposure, in the sense that yes, as the years have gone by, Kenya is growing, especially in the manufacturing and the innovation space. But we need a certain kind of exposure and experience, because yes, you will be taught this and this, but if you don't get to actualize it, if you don't get to practice it, it is something different. I mean, in high school, you can imagine the disparity that was between a child who is going to a really nice school or a national school and a child who is in a local or a district school, yet both of them are required to do the same physics or chemistry or biology experiment. This one has seen chlorine. This one does not even know what doesn't even know how I'm supposed to tie this, how I'm supposed to put what. You see, there's a difference. So I think for the purposes of bringing that experience and exposure, it can be considered a new skill or a skill that is not available, because you have the knowledge but you don't have the hands-on skill. And this is what these foreigners are supposed to instill to us, of which they are taking forever.
In staying
They're
here.
stalling.
Installing it. And also I feel like it's
deliberate.
It's no longer about transferring this. You're just bringing in foreigners and that job can be done. They are local employees. So you find that more and more foreigners are coming in, but we have expertise by local employees or by locals.
I was having a conversation with someone some time back, and we were talking about the roads that are being built. So Thika Road, you see, right now they're putting the pedestrian bridge at Drive-In and another one at Garden City, but they are of a different contractor from China Wuyi. China Wuyi did the roads and the others. So I don't know if it's true. I was being told that it's being done by a local. So the person I was having a conversation with was saying that they should have just given this to a Chinese they would have done it well and fast. It will have been done within weeks. Instead of giving a local who is taking their time, all the time they're stalling, they keep saying there are no funds, yet they've been funded, they've been given money by the government to complete the project.
Which is a mentality we have.
Exactly.
A bad
I ended
mentality.
up telling him, you don't know what this person is facing. It might be that, yes, they have been granted all this, but the Kenyan state already is difficult when everyone wants to eat out of your hand.
So
People
frustration.
just don't frustrate their work. People just don't decide that this project is not moving. When everyone wants to get to you and tell you, okay, I'll give you this project and 10% is mine.
There's always a quid pro
Yes.
quo arrangement.
It frustrates the whole project. Unlike the Chinese, where it's like there's a contract and these are states, these are entities who are together, and you have to fulfill your end of the bargain.
And on top of that, they have something, financial muscle. The kind of financial muscle expatriates have is very different from what a local has.
And it's heavy. So in as much as the locals are trying, they are being frustrated, and maybe they might prefer, because everyone thinks if a local gives the same value as a foreigner, they think this local is being too expensive. Why is a foreigner then? Yet it's the same kind of skill and maybe even better, because there has to be a reason why they are in the country. They know our landscape more than that other person knows.
Exactly.
They have to be preferred over these foreigners.
It's ridiculous. I don't understand why we have foreign construction companies in Kenya to begin with. We have engineering schools at UON, JKUAT, Moi University. All these universities are offering, what are they called, like construction engineering, civil engineering, all these, not construction, civil engineering and all these other courses that basically we have experts, we have people, professional people who can do all of these things. Why do we need Asians coming here to do the same job that we're training Kenyans to do? It beats the purpose. It doesn't make sense, and it's not like we are building a space station or we are building some staircase to Mars. It's a road, a building, at this, at that. I don't understand.
In addition to that, our doctors, when they're bringing in the Cuban doctors, one thing people haven't understood, our government has not understood, is that Cuba invested heavily in their healthcare and education.
Exactly.
They invested. That's why they have this kind of muscle when it comes to the medical space.
Exactly.
There's no problem with bringing these people, but you can't bring foreign doctors with different terms of employment, better terms. Yet our doctors, some are crying that they have not been employed.
They're not getting paid.
Then others are saying they're not getting paid. Others just want a certain raise. You remember when they were asking, I don't know how much their CBA was for, and then they decided that they're bringing the Cuban doctors, and what they were being paid was more than the money they were asking for. So they were wondering, why can't they just give us this money? Let us do our job.
Sometimes the doctors don't even want money. They want a
better
working environment
where there's medicine,
exactly, where machines work, where there are beds, where there's water, where it's clean.
Because I don't think
medical
a doctor
equipment
or a nurse would just say, I don't want to treat you.
Exactly.
If it's not working, it's not working. When someone is telling you in Kenyatta that for you to get that chemotherapy, or there's a list for up to, I don't know, 1.5 years.
Or 2 years.
And if you don't have a connection, you're behind the line.
Exactly.
And you can imagine how many people who have connections, quote unquote, are being fast forwarded. And you're being told there's only 2 machines and one has broken down. We are waiting for it to be serviced. You wonder,
how does this country work? It's ridiculous. I think the only space that has not been infiltrated or corrupted is our space, the legal space, and maybe because we know how to fight for ourselves.
Yes.
But really, every other professional space in this country has been corrupted and abused, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is.
And the more you look at it, the more you wonder who exactly is supposed to be protected by our immigration laws? Is it we Kenyans or is
the
it
The
foreigners?
foreigners. Feels like they're
And to be specific, non-Africans.
Because if a foreigner commits maybe an offense, an employment offense, or if they come here illegally, or it is noted that they were not here in accordance with the terms, they don't have the papers that they're required to have. The worst that the director of immigration can do is issue they can just tell them that they are going to be deported, taken back to nothing.
There have actually been a lot of instances of gender-based violence by personnel from the British and American armies in Kenya, and they don't even get a slap on the wrist. They're just deported, and that's it. They're not even arraigned in court when they go back home. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. I've heard of women being strangled to death, women being raped in Nanyuki, and there's absolutely nothing done about it.
And it is sad because most countries, including the West, Europe, they are
very strict,
guarding their locals more than
exactly.
the foreigners. In as much as people, in as much as they are also encouraging foreigners to come into their countries, they have guarded their locals so much that not just any foreigner can come and take a job that a local there can do.
Exactly, and just even protection of civil rights of the locals there. There's a bias. The immigration laws have a bias for the locals. You cannot do this and think you can get away with it. As a matter of fact, you're not the only one who's going to be punished. Even your embassy will have to answer for why you or people like you are doing this in our country. Yes.
Sadly. What do you because sometime back, I think in 2018, where the CS for Interior came up with directives because saying we need to regularize foreign nationals working in Kenya, because there's a lot of them, there's just inflation of a lot of them with no valid work permits, and then just bringing in foreign nationals to work for, and yet we have local employees who can do the job. So how they did, the directive was just based on within 60 days people need to we have a digital way of applying for work permits and have a digital database for foreign nationals employees, so it's easier to know whether that's an illegal immigrant or you're in the country legally. Now I don't know whether that has been documented. Is it something that has now carried on, or it was just done at that time and then that was over? Because I don't think it was a directive that was implemented by the immigration, but then that was it. Is there now like
a policy or
a law,
a statement stating
yes,
that directive is
that directive is?
Well, I don't know, I'm not sure. I wouldn't answer to whether it has been documented. But what I know is that it was forgotten.
Yeah.
Because was it last year or 2018? I think it was last year, where a Chinese restaurant, someone recorded one of the managerial...
the managers.
Yeah, one of the managers...
Supervisors.
Or the supervisors beating a local badly because they are saying that they're not doing a good job. And when they were being arraigned, it was noted that one of them did not even have a valid work permit, and they were still let. And when they were granted bail or something, they were not deported.
They're still in the country.
They were not deported. Nothing was done to that one who had no valid work permit.
There was also this Chinese who was recorded insulting the president, swearing obscenities. Do you remember that video?
Yes, I remember it.
He was not even arraigned in court, and I know I don't know the particular legislation, but there's a law that states you cannot insult the president, the presidency. You cannot insult this. You cannot do that. This guy was not even arraigned in court. I don't even know what happened. I think he was deported, but
it pains me because I don't know the kind of relationship our government has with the East. Even during this corona period, you remember when the Kenyan, not just Kenyan, African nationals are being chased out of the houses that they're renting, they're being told to go back to your country, that they're the ones who are bringing the second wave of of
No, they were actually being accused of bringing in the virus.
Yeah.
It was Africans who apparently transported the coronavirus to China.
So, and you remember, guys raised this issue with the Foreign Affairs Ministry and our CS.
No, it was the PS. It was the PS Foreign Affairs who said planes are not matatus. They can just be taken to China to evacuate Kenyans.
Yes.
The worst part is Sarah Serem was also riding with that narrative. Sarah Serem is the ambassador of Kenya to China. There's a deliberate ploy by Kenyan government officials to protect Chinese malice at the expense of Kenyans. I remember there was a time when, what was it? It should have been SGR in the SGR station somewhere in Narok. Is there a station in Narok or Maimahi or something?
Maimahi.
And I remember,
just opened.
yeah. And I remember, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's the one. And I remember locals were complaining of being mistreated by the Chinese, being hurt, being beaten, you can even hear of cases of Africans being told to kneel.
Yes.
Kneel because they've not done what they're supposed to do, or they're late, or this and the other. And I remember when Kenyans raised this, especially through social media, raised it to the government, Eric Kiraithe, who was the spokesman for the government at the same time, said, we Africans are not doing enough to stretch out our hand to the Chinese who are living in Kenya. Which again begs the question, are we the ones who are supposed to culturally assimilate ourselves to foreigners? Or is it foreigners who are supposed to come here and actually culturally assimilate themselves to how we live?
Exactly.
Which takes me to the other point. There's a deliberate mentality by non-Africans who come here to think of Africans as inferior. They feel that we're very privileged that they've come to our country, which is not the case.
It's not.
They're making a kill in our country at our expense, and just because they think we don't understand what is happening.
True.
It's true.
And billions of taxes are lost because of this.
Yes.
Exactly.
Let's add something. There's also something else. Should I divert or you want to say
No,
something?
it's okay.
There is no limit as to whether a local company as to how many foreigners they can employ.
So it's as many as you want.
So you can bring. There should be a limit. So I feel like it's very vague. So you can have maybe let's talk about foreign companies or even local companies.
I think that they haven't defined the number limit because they feel I want to imagine the mind of the legislators or the drafters at this point. If we are talking about a skill, can we limit the number?
Okay. We can, so that there's a point you've both made about how these specialized functions must eventually be
phased out,
and local employees take up the same position. So there should be a limit as to how many specialized skills or skilled workers can come into the country, and give a deadline. They'll be working from this time to this time, and then this role will eventually be absorbed to the local market.
I think there also needs to be a follow-up. I don't think our authorities follow up when such things have already happened. Because if they followed up sincerely, we will be able to know who has a work permit, who doesn't. Has the employer who brought in this foreign national been able to actualize this transition? So I think on our part for the officials, they have failed in monitoring in the follow-up for this. Because when you follow up, you will know how much a company needs this foreign national.
I think even better yet, we should just, the immigration department should have a limit as to how many foreigners come into the country. Simple. We're not going to take...
For work, for labor.
Yes, as far as labor is concerned, there should be a limit. We cannot have this many Cubans in our country. We cannot have this many Chinese. Why are there this many characters in this country? Why can't we face them out? How long are they supposed to be here? Are they clearing? Do we know how fast they're clearing?
And immediately they are done, they should leave. You see, when the work permits lapse, it's like no one follows up.
Exactly.
It's like they were given an identity card, so it's forever. So one day when you need to do something, it's when you will renew. Yet you have lived here for almost 7 or 10 years.
10 years, 15 years.
Yeah,
no one is. Phoebe, we are sorry we have hijacked you.
No, I
seem to have a lot to
think
say
the
as far as grievances are concerned.
was something that could be discussed. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Phoebe. The one thing we all learn, we've all, I think, gathered from reading up on the Employment Act, Immigration, Constitution, Privileges and Immunities Act, our laws don't protect Kenyans.
They protect the foreigners.
They protect foreigners. They're not Pan-African, which means there is a deliberate attempt to, what's that word? Not instill. There's a deliberate attempt to ensure that mentalities, anti-African mentalities, continue with all these immigrants who come into our country, and especially non-African immigrants who come to our country. And again, I believe there's a deliberate ploy by government officials to keep this mentality alive, and they do it at our expense just because they're bribed, small bribes. Like I understand some are given houses abroad, luxury apartments. They are given their provisions to hide money in some of these countries, and they have waivers and whatnot. So yeah, that's it's sad.
Yeah, I think any foreign national who wants to come to Kenya should have a sense of fear.
Exactly.
The way as Kenyans or probably I don't know any other African feel when they go to other
parts of the world. Non-African
whether you
parts
go
of
to
the
the
world.
east, whether you're going to the west, there's this fear that if I just mess up once, that's it.
I will never come
And
back here.
Chances of me coming back are slim. I feel like such policies should be the ones that govern us, in that even a foreigner who is coming here knows that I'm coming here and it's purely on a business professional level, in that if they make a single mistake, they know it is just done. It's a wrap. They can't just sneak back into the country. They just can't use any other means to be here. That sense of fear that we feel when we are not in our home is the same sense of fear I believe a foreigner should feel when they're here. Not in the sense that they will be banned or they will face any form of discrimination. No, you have to abide by the rules of
And
the land you're in, and
respect the cultures of the people you find there, the people you find there.
Yes, because it is sad that we are the ones, you have to respect them when they are at your home, and you also have to respect them when you are at their home.
Exactly. No,
It
you're
has
my
to
guest.
be
Respect
two-way.
me.
We are not. No one is inferior.
No one is.
Yes. But I think there is also a challenge to us Kenyans, us locals, us Africans. Can you have a sense of pride?
Yes.
When you're dealing with non-African foreigners, can you have a sense of pride? Engage them like you're equal.
Yes.
Yeah. We need to snap out of this inferiority complex a lot of us Africans suffer from. You're scared when you're dealing with a white person. You're scared when you're dealing with a Hindi or a Chinese person. No, they're your equals. There's nothing much they can do. And if you ever feel discriminated against, if you ever feel there's some form of racism or this or the other, these guys are here to commit crimes, or you feel like there's anything suspicious, walk to the nearest immigration office and report it.
Yes.
The immigration officers have every they have discretion to investigate any cases or any suspicions against immigrants as per the Immigration and Citizenship Act. So yeah.
And if that doesn't work, that is our work as wakilis.
Exactly.
Bring it to us.
Come to us.
Come to
We
us.
are here for you.
Go to the Kenyan Human Rights
Commission.
Go to this they're called non-profitable institution. They're really good. At least they bring light to what is happening, even if maybe they try so much and the government that doesn't follow up. But it's good when all these things are coming
Come to light. Yes.
And it will help you a lot.
Also, don't forget that social media is an extremely powerful tool, and don't be afraid to air your grievances on social media. One way or the other, someone will pick it, and we will all come to know of your situation. There's another point I'm forgetting. I wanted to.
As you remember that, just no one can harm you in your home country.
Yes. Exactly.
As long as you're saying something that is real and it's happening, no one can harm you against it. No one will kill you because you went and said so and so did this to me, they beat me, they are discriminative.
Exactly.
No one will. In fact, it will bring out the rot that is happening. And the fact that you're standing up for yourself in your own hometown, these people will stop taking advantage of us, because I think they come and feel a sense of so much respect and privilege. Like when I walk in, when I go to a restaurant,
they're afraid of me.
The manager is always asking me if I'm okay, is the food good? But when you go to the same restaurant as a local, no one is coming to ask you if your food is okay. And even sometimes you call the waiter, they see you but they ignore.
There have actually been incidences where some of these high-end hotels and restaurants in Mombasa, I've heard of incidences where an African who has booked themselves in, their guests, they try to walk into the restaurant area and they're told, no, we need the white people to come in first before you can come in. White people don't like it when you dress like this, so you can't come in here dressed like this because you are unpleasant, you're not delightful.
So you wonder.
Exactly.
They should feel, they're the ones who should feel uncomfortable.
Exactly.
If they don't like it,
they can leave.
Adjust.
Exactly. There was something else. First of all, to add to what you said, Doreen, although this is a tongue-in-cheek comment, there's power in numbers. Also, if you feel discriminated against by your foreign employer or foreign supervisors, foreign superiors, you have every right to sue them on grounds discrimination. And they are the ones who bear the burden of proving that they're not discriminating against you. Yes. And I think you should know that. So
true.
That's it. That's it from me. And I don't know. I hope this conversation gets to the Immigration Office, the Law Society of Kenya, Matiang'i, and everyone else who is involved, so that we can all sit down and
come up with
come up with parameters,
policies,
at least even a law that is one legislation that will be easy to govern.
Exactly.
Such employment and foreigners, it would be nice.
Yes.
Not just employers, foreign employers or foreigners in the employment space, but generally immigrants who come into this country, because there are those who are tourists but still very crass when they're here. So there should be a law, like a code of conduct, the immigration code of conduct. Exactly, that polices anyone who comes into this country. Let me tell you, there are instances where a Kenyan will go to Uganda, Tanzania, and the kind of wrath they are met with by authorities in those countries. And we're supposed to have this brotherly relation and whatnot. But when these people come to our country, when South Sudanese people come to our country, no one mistreats them. Everyone treats everyone.
We are actually, in as much as people think
Kenyans and polite and
hospitable, are very difficult because of social media, I think Kenyans are the most accommodating.
Exactly. We're the most accommodating Africans.
Yes.
But we are not met with the same hospitality in other countries. So again, as a Kenyan, where is your sense of pride? This is a challenge to you. Don't settle for mistreatment, disrespect, or anything from an immigrant. Report it to the nearest immigration office. And that's it. That's it from me. I won't even say that again.
Thank you. You can go and on discussing this issue, but
this is a very fluid topic.
Yes, we have to end it there. Thank you for listening to this third episode. Please note that the content of this episode is intended to be of general use only and should not be relied upon without seeking specific legal advice. Please engage us on our social media platforms at Everyday Wakili on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also write to us on everydaywakili@gmail.com. Until next week.
Goodbye.